In the last week, I spoke about Roman Empire. How organized Roman Empire and how conquer a Mediterranean basin. And basically, three pillars based, the environmental pillars, form the basis of the company. The first one, the capital, Rome, which was the largest city and most populous city until the Industrial Revolution, whole of the world, with 1.5 million inhabitants, first. And second, the second innovation, the road network, the Roman road network. And the last one, a special combination of agrarian bag. It's named Mediterranean polyculture, which means wine, wheat, and olives. This is the basic environmental and ecological bag of Roman Empire. And in the last lecture's occasion, in the last slide, I spoke about the reason of decline of Roman Empire. And the last one, if possible, who participated in the last week lecture, remember what means the information gradient. You remember? Because equalized the information gradient. In the last week, I spoke about the Gladiator, the movie of Gladiator. Indonesian student, no? Gladiator. This, okay. You remember the first scene of the movie, Battle of Vindobona. You remember which city named Vindobona in Latin? Nobody? Vienna, capital of Austria. This is the Latin name of Vindobona. But landscape and the physical environment are a little bit different both. But information gradients mean the intellectual capacity concern organizing army and collaborate and coordinate the moving and military campaign of cavalry and infantry and archery, one side, and well-educated, well-trained army, one side in the Roman Empire, and other side the barbarians, a very brave people, but no coordination between different troops. And the information gradient mean a well-organized empire and under-organized barbarians. And, if possible, you remember the discussion of General Maximus and the captain of Praetorians. Praetorians, the bodyguard of the emperor. And discussed before the battle, that the barbarians lost the battle, before the battle. You know the name of Sun Tzu, a Chinese general and author, Art of War. And according to Sun Tzu, the Chinese general, every battle is over before the first second of the battle. Because majority of operation, which direct the direction and the offspring of the battle, did before the real battle. This is the basic reason information gradient. Organized, well-organized army and under-organized army. No chance for winning the battle. But in the late Roman Empire, lot of barbarians recruited to the Roman army as mercenary. Therefore, lot of barbarians trained according to style, military style of Roman Empire first. And secondly, if signed peace treaty between the barbarian kingdom and Roman Empire, changed a hostage, you know, a hostage, changed. A member of aristocracy, Roman aristocracy, traveled, for example, to the Han Empire and lived together with the Han aristocracy, and the barbarians moved to Rome and learned the knowledges, organizing of empire, the bureaucracy, military and civil, and so on and so. Therefore, the barbarians learn Roman knowledges, Roman cognition, and equalize. One of the important reasons of decline of Roman Empire, the barbarians learned the lifestyle and organizing power, organizing technology of Roman Empire. And the last one, a climate deterioration, because I mentioned in the last week that environmental background of great conquering of Roman Empire, a worn period, very worn period. Not by chance that Roman Empire occupied Germany, occupied Britain, and occupied the recent French territory. It's a Gaul, Gallic area. Why? Because the climate became warmer. And climate turned down and became cold and cooler. And in the last week I spoke about a theory, a frame theory, which helped to us to understand political and historical, it's the last week's supplement contained this slide, not today's, because this is almost the last one. And no reason to distribute because I will go back to the co-space. Okay, this is the theory challenge and answer. Challenge and answer. Challenge and answer situation may happen in your personal life, in the life of community, for example, one university, one settlement, and one folks, and one civilization. Look at the form of challenge. For example, the challenge might be, in the case of Roman Empire, invasion of barbarians, like happened in the case of Vindobona, the Battle of Vindobona. Which is the answer? With no problem. Finally, it didn't go up. Okay. First type of answer, the traditional answer. Which is the traditional answer? Mobilizing legions and push down invasion of barbarians. This is the traditional answer. Look at the life of student. Look at, for example, exam situation. Exam situation, a typical version of challenge. Challenge for you. Challenge for you. You can find the answer. Which is the traditional manner of challenge of exam? Learning. This is the traditional manner of learning. But sometimes the traditional type answer, first type answer, didn't work. Therefore, necessary to find innovation. The second type of answer, innovation. Look at, for example, history of Roman Empire, which is the typical Roman warrior, Roman soldier, a peasant. You remember the gladiator, a General Maximus. It's dreaming, I'm walking in the field of wheat, and I am, Maximus touching the pike of the wheat, because the ideal man in the Roman Empire, the peasant. But which is the problem if peasants participate in the army and military campaign? Not time going back for plowing and sowing and harvesting, no time. Therefore, two options, soldier or peasant. It's no compromise. Therefore, a Roman Empire introduced a mercenary, a professional soldier, and receive a salary, and therefore not necessarily going home. It's innovation. Or look at the great collapse of Roman Empire. Very important case of innovation, innovative minorities. Look at, for example, a Roman Catholic Church. A Roman Catholic Church formed inside of Roman Empire. And when a Western Roman Empire collapsed, a Roman Catholic Church saved a lot of innovation of Roman Empire. Latin language. In Vatican, official language is Latin. And there is a language commission which made a new words for mobile phone, space shuttle, which didn't exist on the time of Roman Empire. Therefore, it's a dead language or not dead language, not so easy to answer this question. Therefore, on the time of Roman Empire, Roman Catholic Church those are innovative minorities. They somehow saved the heritage of Roman Empire. In the case of student, the first type of answer, learning, and the second type of answer, using innovation. For example, recently very popular, using the mobile phone. With headset or directly. It's innovation somehow. And the third type of answer, collapse. Traditional answer, tried innovation, didn't work, happened with the Western Roman Empire, collapsed, disappeared. And in the case of student, failed. This is the collapse, the third type answer. Okay, we were using this very simple but very flexible theory, frame theory. Okay, the last innovation for survival of Roman Empire made by Emperor Theodosius, dividing two parts a Roman Empire. This solution using until now for solving a huge, for example, enterprises problem. Why? Because a large enterprises, direction of large enterprises, it's very complicated. One solution for the function problem, a simplification and cutting smaller part. And smaller part, much more easy to direct. And separated Western and Eastern Roman Empire. And Eastern Roman Empire, with capital Constantinople, survived with 1,000 years collapse of Western Roman Empire. And I call your attention to other theory. Somebody reasoned about a flatback of Miller. It's an American psychologist, basically psychologist, and specialized to the planning management. Miller, flatback of Miller. No, nobody. It's very useful knowledge because basically the question of the Miller. It's a Miller, professor of Princeton University in the United States. The most important question for him as psychologist. Which are the conditions good decision? For example, you are manager of Coca-Cola and you have to make good decision. Which are the most important conditions? Making good decision. First, well educated, but much more important compared with the education, that in the situation of decision, no more item than 7. For example, 7 units in the enterprise, no more. Therefore, his very seminal study, the magical number 7. The magical number 7. Magical number 7 means if you have to work more item than 7, you won't able do good decision. Because more complicated. Look at, for example, the army, organization of army. Look at the American army. Because in the case of army, in the battle situation, the feedback is very direct. A bad organized army lost the battle, obviously. And look at the American army. Section or patrol, 2 fire teams. 8 to 12 soldiers, but 2 fire teams. And the head of patrol had to concentrate only 2 items. Platoon, 2 squad, 2 items. Infantry company, 2 to 8, a little bit over that 7, but 2 to 8. Infantry battalion, 2 to 6. Regiment or group, 2. Brigade, 2. And battalion 3 or 6, but look at up each general or officer not necessarily manipulate more than 2, from 2 to 6 under the ceiling of 7. It's very important, very important. And for example, in the communication, not usable, using more item, that's 7. That's 7, the ceiling, the upper ceiling of item which can able to looking over the humans. But it's possible a genius able to looking over more item, but this is a general conclusion. Okay, good, and we jump to the following slide. No. Good. Look at the Middle Ages. We closed our age of antiquity, therefore turn to the direction of Middle Ages.
Is this one? This presentation is that?
Yeah, this is, you can see, Middle
Can I
Ages.
have one?
Oh, sorry.
Thank you.
I didn't, so. Okay. Very interesting. Middle Ages, this term used first time on the age of Renaissance. Flavio Biondo used decade of history from deterioration of Roman Empire, this published in the middle of 16th century. The term of Middle Ages between antiquity and the modern time, Renaissance and rebirth of the antiquity used by philosophers. Very difficult to define the starting date of Middle Ages. The 3 types of event use historical literature for starting date, for making a starting date of the Middle Ages. For some event of the fall of Western Roman Empire, some event of great migration, folks moved from Central Asia toward Roman Empire, and very important event, breaking of Mediterranean civilization axis. If we are looking at European history, until the collapse of Western Roman Empire, the cradle, you know which is the cradle for the baby, a cradle of civilization, a Mediterranean Sea. Look at, for example, Empire of Egypt, a Phoenician cities, a Greek civilization, Roman Empire. Every civilization focused to the Roman Empire. But at the end of antiquity, it's collapsed, this axis, civilization axis and the cradle. And a Roman Mediterranean basin became a boundary between different civilizations until now. Good. The first usable date of Middle Ages, the starting date of invasion of Huns. You know the Huns, the most famous king of the Huns, Attila. For example, in the Hungarian mythology, there is we are the folks of the Attila. It's not true probably, but very interesting element that the Hungarians arrived to Carpathian Basin as a nomadic people. And before a Hungarian conquering of Carpathian Basin, in this area lived the Huns. But very interesting, Huns formed a huge empire from Ural Mountain to the Carpathian Basin, a large area, but increased very quickly and formed and covered huge area, but like a nomadic empire, collapsed very quickly for decades. And recently, from Han languages, we know only 3 words, no more. It's very, very interesting in the collective memory of the humankind. In the Middle Ages, early Middle Ages, appeared a huge empire, and like a smoke, disappeared, and left only 3 words from the language, which described by Roman authors. It's possible not real Han words, only used by the Huns, but very interesting how disappeared some historical events without any trace. Okay, but anyway, it's well documented. Hans crossed the river Danube and pushed the Teutonic, the German tribes toward Western Roman Empire. And finally, Western Roman Empire was able to survive the pressure and collapsed. Hans, not by chance I wrote here the Xiongnu, because the Hans came from the wall, the Great Chinese Wall, and moved westward. And Attila, this is the birthday and the ruling years of the Attila, and the greatest battle of him was the Battle of Catalonia between the Han and Roman Empire. But very interesting and very typical on the time, both of the army, the majority came from German tribes. And on the Roman Empire, Roman side, only the generals and the officers were Roman. In the Han order, the upper part and the elite troops came from the Han folks. This is the first day. First day when the Hans crossed on the Volga River. And starting the invasion of the Hans, a great wave of different great waves of migration, different folks. You can see Hans, Visigoths, and very interesting, one German, one Teutonic, because in the contemporaries, not German, but use the Teutonic terms, moved even in northern Africa. And very interesting, 5% of DNA, even though, came back to the Vandals. In the northern Africa, because changed the population, but it's function like a DNA pole. You know which is the DNA. DNA, this heritage material of the human. And at the beginning of 21st century, reconstructed the DNA and able to identify a DNA background. And in the northern Africa, recently it's a different population living in this area, and 5% of DNA, it came back to the Vandals. And which is the typical form of the Vandals? It's a blonde hair and blue eyes. It's a very interesting. I never traveled in the northern Africa, but a lot of my friends told to me it's very surprising. It's a typical northern African environment and the people, and some exceptional. Blonde and blue eyes, local Vandals, surviving of the Vandal DNA. Okay, first, date 370. I have to speak some words about the nomadism. Basically, the region of the nomadism. This is the steppe area between the Chinese Great Wall and Roman Empire, and the people, the nomadic people, moving this corridor, this steppe corridor, east or west. And very important advantage of Eurasia, a large eastern and western size of the continent. Why? Because one innovation, very easy, proliferate everywhere. Because, for example, here invented some innovation, technological innovation, in the same trajectory, moving and distribute this innovation. Because the people, east to west, very easily able to move. Look at, for example, America, northern and southern America. Later I will speak about, but for comparison, this is the northern part of America, central part of and southern part of America. Two areas of civilization and innovation formed in America, central part of America, and Inca Empire in the western coast of Pacific Ocean. And most important innovation formed in Maya civilization. Maya civilization. But, for example, domestication of plants and animals, not usable in southern part of northern America. Why? Because the climate condition very different. Domesticated the corn, but the domesticated corn wasn't able to grow in northern part because much colder the climate. In the case of Eurasia, no such problem because east-west very large the continent and innovation able to proliferate very easily. Geographical reason able to form speed and the interaction of civilization. Okay. Which were the most important condition of the nomadism? Nomadism formed in the 5th century before Christ. In this area, very moderate the quantity of precipitation. Why so important? Because the grassland able to grow only once a year. If grazed down, necessary to wait 1 year for growing up the grass. Very fragile animal husbandry because in the nomadism only one pillar. Animal husbandry, no any other. If animal husbandry, the herds is down, it's no chance for survival for the people. And very important, the water sources. The nomadic people never left farther than 50 kilometers from the wells and water courses. Why? Because for a lot of animals necessary to find a drinking place. And very important symbiosis with the saddle population. Why? Because animal husbandry not able to produce other than animals. Any other products, like for example cereals, like artisan products, necessary to buy from settled people. Okay. The second date, because the first potential date of starting date of Middle Ages, invasion of Huns, and the second potential date, starting date of Middle Ages, date when the last important Roman Emperor Theodosius divided two parts, Roman Empire. And the third potential date of starting date of Middle Ages, when a Visigoths, a German tribe, it's plundered Rome. Why so important? Because if you remember a gladiator, because almost everybody watched a gladiator. Sorry. One of the most important problems of the Maximus that armed people didn't go into the Rome. Armed people. No. Only the Praetorians wearing weapons. No any others. And the last occasion when enemy occupied Rome happened 387 before Christ. Therefore, for 8th century, nobody conquered Rome. Therefore, a Roman Empire unfolded a mentality that Rome is unhurtable settlement. And the invasion of the Visigoths and plundering of the city destroyed the self-assurance. Okay, this is the third potential date, 410. And the fourth potential starting date of Middle Ages, in the historical guidebook generally using this date, 476, deposition of Romulus Augustulus. Romulus Augustulus was the last officially crowned emperor. And we are the sword and the crown, everything, which necessary to legitimate crowning of the emperor. It's a young person. If we are looking at a birthday and a date of deposition, it's only 50 years old. It's very young, very young. Moreover, his court wasn't in Rome, but in Ravenna. He escaped from the Rome to the northern part of Italy, and only deposited. Didn't kill, didn't plunder. Only one German officer arrived to Ravenna and asked the crown and the sword of emperor, no other option for the young emperor, took over the crown and the sword, and the German general walked to the port and find one Eastern Roman vessel, commercial ship, and take to the captain the gadget of empire with the message, send this gadget to the Eastern Roman Empire, from the Western Roman Empire, with the message, we never would like to elect new emperor. It's over. It's over. This is the official day of deposition and the closing day of Roman Empire. And very interesting, the last official day, starting day of European Middle Ages, the Hijra. You know the story? This is the date of moving Muhammad and his follower from Mecca to Medina. This is the Hijra, starting date of Muslim country. Why so important? Because in consequence of great success of Muslim world, the troops of Prophet occupied not only Arabian Peninsula, but occupied Near East, occupied northern part of Africa. Therefore, a Mediterranean Sea, which was a cradle of civilization from the Egyptian, Phoenician, Greek, and Roman Empire, became a boundary between Muslim and a Christian civilization. And these changes moved northward a European civilization, and in consequence of great success of Islam, Christendom and the European civilization became a continental civilization. Roman Empire wasn't a continental, it's a seaborne civilization was. Middle Ages, a medieval European civilization became a continental civilization. Okay, but look at some case study. The first case study which we touched, a birth of Islam. A birth of Islam. If we are looking at cradle of Islam, Arabian Peninsula, very important focus size of physical environment. If we are looking at physical environment of Arabian Peninsula, we can identify the next region. This is the Arabian Peninsula, it's a Red Sea, and other one, it's a Persian Gulf or Arabic Gulf, it's depends on the approach, and the Red Sea. If we are looking at Mediterranean, Arabian Peninsula, we can identify the majority of Arabian Peninsula a desert area. If we are looking, for example, the literature of early Muslim author, it's very important, the desert. Not by chance, look at, for example, life of Jesus Christ. It's going to 40 days to the desert. Because desert are the ideal place for meditation. Nothing. This is the area of nothing. Okay, but turn back. majority of desert. The people are able to live inside of the desert in consequence of domestication of camel. It's very important. Camel. The camel able to survive almost everything. Almost everything. Look at, for example, during the Second World War in Hungary, the how the name is fighting around the Budapest, capital of Hungary, is the second longest fight for city. How the name is? It's fighting for the city. It's I don't remember the good term. No, okay, a little bit late, therefore not the vocabulary in my brain. It's don't function excellently every situation. Okay, I remember. I don't remember. It's a fight, city fight. City fight is a good term. It's under pressure. It's circumscribed the city and fighting for the city, which is the good term. Okay, later. So the longest city fight was Leningrad in Soviet Union. It's 3 years. And the second one is a fight for Budapest. It's not so long, not a lot of years, only 100 days. And in the Budapest Zoo, only 2 animals survive a long siege. Okay, siege. Sorry about okay, long siege. Only 2 animals survive long siege of Budapest. The first one are camel. But my guess, which was the other animal, exotic animal, in the Hungarian point of view, which survived without feeding, very cold winter. Some idea? Sorry.
Alpaca.
No, alpaca. It's maybe because a little bit similar strategy. No alpaca. Not so easy to realize. Hippopotamus. Hippopotamus, you know? Hippopotamus. Why? Because Budapest located a tectonic line. Therefore, a lot of warm well exists on the region of Budapest. And to the pole of hippopotamus flowing a natural wells warm water. And the hippopotamus is quite large, with large grass. And with help of grass was able to survive a long hunger period. It's very, and other reason of survival of hippopotamus, if possible you don't know that the hippopotamus more dangerous animal than the lion. In Africa, more death of accident happen in consequence of attack of hippopotamus. Because in short distance, it's 50 meters distance, so quick like a horse, therefore very dangerous animal. And the hippopotamus was able to save himself. Good, but look at Arabian Peninsula. In Arabian Peninsula wasn't a hippopotamus, only camel. And the desert area. This is the desert area, and this area, the southern area, it's was Arabia Felix. Arabia Felix, you know which is the Arabia region. Felix, a happy Arabia. Why happy Arabia? Arabia Felix. Arabia Felix, because southern part of Arabia received a monsoon rain. You know which is the monsoon rain. regular rain. Therefore, in this area unfolded agriculture based on irrigation. And compared with the desert area, it's a very rich area. You know the history from the Bible, Old Testament of the Bible, story of Queen Saba. No? Saba. Hungarian Saba király. Saba. He was a contemporary of King Solomon, who constructed the great church in Jerusalem. Okay, anyway, it's a rich area. And the third area, it's a desert oasis cities on the coast of Red Sea. Oasis cities. It's a commercial cities. One of these, the most important oasis cities on this change was Mecca. And the other one, Medina. 300 kilometers northward. And this area lived a nomadic people, nomadic Bedouin people. And which was the strategy? Participated in the, for example, animal husbandry of the desert area, and Arabia Felix, most important product was frankincense. You know which is the frankincense. In the Roman Catholic Church, until now, using the frankincense. Frankincense burner. Wintertime is very popular. It's a burn and very good smell you can feel. And frankincense, it's a Boswellia sacra, used, for example, in the praying ceremony in the Roman Catholic Church until now. And homemade frankincense, this is the pine living in the southern part of Arabia, and cutting the bark, and there is an immune reaction. It's covering the wounded part of the bark, and with help of knife, it's cutting down. This is the reaction, immune reaction of the pine. And taking to burning bottle, it's able to make a very good and very deep and very sweet incense. Okay, it's luxury good on the contemporaries. Therefore, in the coastal area of Red Sea, formed a commercial and trade routes. It's named frankincense road, like a Silk Road, which connected China, Europe and Africa. And this is the frankincense road, which connected Arabian Peninsula with Africa, Europe and Asia. This was the great long-distance trade connection. Frankincense. Not only frankincense traveled, but this was the most expensive products, like the silk in the case of China. And named the road, the trading route, after the most expensive products. Okay, but in this area arrived a cold and dry period. Which was the reaction of the Bedouin people? Decreased the productivity of animal husbandry, decreased the productivity of frankincense production, because decreased the raining, the reliability of the raining. Therefore, a nomadic Bedouin compensated themselves with the raiding of Syria and the raiding of Egypt. It's a normal reaction. It's raiding, plundering. Nomadic people, if more populous like a local people, it's raided. If lower number, it's traded. Therefore, somehow try to change the products. If over number, the local people raided and plundered, it's down number, it's only traded. But in this situation, raided, because much higher the profit rate. But in this area, in the Near East area formed two great empires, the Eastern Roman Empire and Persia, a Persian empire. And this empire tried to close the Arabian Peninsula and stop invasion of Bedouin invasion. Therefore, formed two buffer states. One by Persian Empire, other one Eastern Roman Empire, buffer state. Try to close somehow Arabian Peninsula and form a situation which is typical in the history, if possible you listened about it, a closed battle situation. A closed battle, there is a battle and with the cork closed. These buffer states were the cork, closed. And inside of the closed area, Arabian Peninsula increased the tension. And finally, it's blown up. And in this crisis situation, a lot of political and religious leaders offer a solution. And the most successful named Muhammad, who finally blew up the core and occupy and integrate to the Arabian Peninsula large area. Look at the program of Muhammad. There are 5 pillars and 3 peculiarities of Islam. You are Muslim, therefore you can correct my description if necessary. Okay, the first one, Shahada. The first one, Shahada. Shahada means a declaration of monotheism. Declaration of monotheism. Why so important? Because before Muhammad, a lot of different local gods and goddesses existed in the Arabian Peninsula and in the mythology of local people. Therefore, declared the monotheism. I testify that there are none worthy of worship except God, and I testify that Muhammad, the messenger of God. And very interesting, the story of Jesus Christ, because in the Islam theology, there is an alternative story about the Jesus Christ. According to Muslim story about Jesus Christ didn't crucify. He lived in the family, in the circle of family, and died in old age. It's a very interesting story.
No, actually
No?
in Islam, Jesus was taken to the sky.
Yeah, of course.
Because,
Like other prophets of the Old Testament.
people hunted him, and so God saved him to the sky.
Yeah, but it's some left the earth, left the real world somehow. But he didn't crucify it according to Muslim tradition. Very interesting, because I call your attention. There is a lot of movie about the story of the Jesus Christ. And for example, very interesting, a little bit close to the Muslim version, Last Temptation of the Jesus. Last Temptation of the Jesus. It's a Hollywood movie, but quite a good. William Defoe, American actor, playing Jesus. Okay, but turn back to the story of the formation of the Islam. The first, a monotheism. The second one, Salah, ritual prayer 5 times a day. And very interesting, in the Christian world, it's too much. 5 times a day, it's unbelievable. But look at the traditional Christian community. In the traditional community, because me and the contemporary Christian are hobby Christian. I have free time, I'm walking to the church. Okay. My son once, I asked me when I went to the church, I would like to know that the God will in the church or not. I don't know. No my capacity forecasting of the presence of the God. I hope anyway. Okay, but look at the traditional Christian customs. In the traditional Christian customs, 4 times. 4 times a day, quite close to the Muslim custom. 4 and 5 times, not so much. It's depend on the orientation. And zakat, almsgiving for the poor people. Very important. I don't want to speak about a life of the Muhammad, but Muhammad was a poor people. First, his father, and a little bit later, he was a 7 or 10 years old, I don't know, but a young boy, when his mother died, and he was orphan. He was orphan. Therefore, was a high sensibility for the poverty. Zakat is a pillar. It's a giving money for the poor people. And Psalm, a fasting during the month of Ramadan. And very interesting, everybody know which is the fasting. Okay, a fasting, very important. There is orientation for the spiritual values, but very important. A fasting, it's a strategy for saving our foods. Saving the foods. Because look at the Christian heritage. In the Christian heritage, the longest fast is a springtime. Why? Because in the traditional time, generally not enough food. Therefore, it's a late winter time and early springtime, very useful, decreased the quantity of eating. Therefore, this is a saving strategy before the theologian meaning. And the last one, a Hajj, a pilgrimage during the city of Mecca. This is the Rome of Muslim world. This is the core area, central city. My question, for military service, for military success of early Muslim army, which pillar have the most efficiently? No any word about the jihad. Jihad, other question. No pillar. Which element of 5 pillars of Islam had increased a military potential?
Fasting?
Sorry?
Fasting?
I am deaf. Fasting, no, because the hunger people are not able to fight. Okay? Fasting closed, out.
Hajj, big.
No, Hajj, this is a road. This is a moving one place to other.
Zakat.
Zakat is no, it's for poor people. Salah. Salah. Why?
Exercise.
Somebody did military service. No, nobody. It was a great invention. When I was a soldier for 1 year before the university studies. This was a custom in my period in the 20th century, and because very interesting the story and the training, how transform a civil people to soldier. The soldier, not the people who able to run very quickly and able to fire very good manner and very good. No. The soldier, the disciplined person, who do which necessary, switch out the thinking. When I received the order, after half year, I didn't thought about the meaning of the order, because we became a robot. We did the same training in the same days, and finally it's mechanized, discipline and mechanized. If somebody repeat, day by day, became discipline and focused. And peculiarity, Muslim fraternity. Which is the meaning of Muslim fraternity? If somebody became member of Muslim community, no meaning any other personal, familiar connection, because he became follower of Muslim religion. A little bit similar than described in the case of in the story of the Jesus Christ. If possible, you remember the story when Jesus Christ walking to Jerusalem with his followers, and his mother tried to call him back to Nazareth. And very interesting the reaction of the Jesus Christ, because one of his followers, his mother would like to go back to Nazareth, and Jesus Christ answered, "I have not a family. You are my family. A Christian community is my family." It's quite close to the Muslim fraternity. Very important, unity of laical and ecclesiastical power. Why? No separation, no division like in Europe. A political power and organization of church, and the priest and the network and bureaucracy of ecclesiastical bureaucracy. In Europe, is divided two directions. It's a laical and ecclesiastical world, divided. And in the case of early Muslim period, no division. And the most interesting and critical, a jihad, holy word, holy war. But very important and very important to call attention, there was a great and the greater and the lesser jihad. And the greater jihad, this is self-perfection. And fight against all mistakes and all weaknesses. And only the lesser jihad is a real military campaign. Okay, and if we are looking at Muslim world, even on the time of Muhammad and after the death of Muhammad, formed the main trajectory of the Muslim world, and here Indonesia is a part. Good. Look at the second story on the time of Middle Ages. What happened in America in the contemporary period? Look at the Maya civilization. In the case of Maya civilization, we can divide three periods. A pre-classic period, it's approximately 2000 before Christ until 250 Anno Domini. Classic period, majority of the monuments we can identify from the classic period and post-classic period. And how located Maya civilization? This is the Yucatan Peninsula in Central America. Yucatan Peninsula, we can divide a mountain area and the plain area. Three regions identified. It's a southern Maya highland, and southern lowland and northern lowlands. And if we are looking at Maya calendaries, started 3114 before Christ, and the first identified Maya settlements identified a little bit later, 1800 before Christ, and the construction of the first ceremonial architecture, it's 1000 before Christ, and the first written inscription Maya hieroglyphs dated 250 before Christ. But a very interesting innovation of the Maya mathematician, introduction of zero. And very interesting, neither from Phoenician nor Greek or Roman Empire didn't introduce the zero. But because zero, it's nothing. Zero is the nothing. And Arabic mathematician introduced 800 years later. That Maya mathematics, it's most developed whole of the global civilization. But there is a weakness. of Maya civilization. Maya civilization and whole of the American civilization lived in Copper Age. Copper Age. If possible, you know the movie of Apocalypto. No? Apocalypto. It's very interesting, not so cruel, because very bad critics wrote about the Apocalypto. Not so cruel. Not so cruel. If you're able to see a movie of Schwarzenegger, not more cruel. They kill some people, and there is some ritual. It's cutting down the head of the people, ritual manner on the pyramids, on the step pyramids, but living in the Copper Age. Therefore, no iron devices and iron weapons. It's important weakness of the American civilization, and this is one of the reasons of the very quick collapse on the age of conquering. Why? Because in the battle situation, not useful, knowledge is of zero. It's necessary some weapons for saving of survival. Okay, why interesting for environmental history story of Maya civilization? Because Maya civilization formed a great city-state in a tropical tropical forest area, and focused to the step pyramids here. The most famous city-states, Tikal, Palenque, and Copan, lived 50,000 or 100,000 people inside of these cities, and very intensive agriculture used around the cities, domesticated prawns, potatoes, beans, pumpkins, pepper, chili, animals, dog, turkey, llama, vicuña, and the pigs. Very important, no large animal. You remember in the early phase of this course I spoke about the Pleistocene overkilling, killed the large animal in America on the time of appearance of the humans. And which is the most important weakness of the Maya civilization? Very moderate size of arable land, and therefore used the terrace production, because on the mountain area necessary somehow use the slope region of the mountain area. And unfortunately, and this is the normal reaction of the civilization is if able to grow, overwhelming, overpopulated Maya civilization. According to archaeological reconstruction, Maya civilization in this area reached 35 to 40 million people. It's overpopulated and overused physical environment. But on the age of Maya Golden Age, the physical conditions were excellent. It's good. It's enough precipitation, quite hospitable climate and environmental condition, but somehow around 7th and 8th century Anno Domini appear a climate deterioration. The most critical element, the drought, decrease the precipitation. It's tropical area. Decrease of precipitation mean that, for example, 800 millimeters decreased to 1,000. It's drought in tropical condition because the needs of precipitation of the plants on this area much higher. In consequence of decrease of precipitation, starting and launched agrarian crisis, and very important reaction. You know the challenge answer. Very interesting how reacted a Maya elite for the agrarian problems. This is the period when a spiritual technology was equal with the rational technology. A magical word, and the rational world is interwoven with each other. Therefore, a Maya elite decided necessary to intensify spiritual technology. How functioned the intensification of spiritual technology? It launched a campaign of church building. First and secondly, which is the secondly? Church building? You know the Apocalypto. A human sacrifice increased the intensity of human sacrifice because according to Maya religion, necessary offer blood for the god of sun. Because a god of sun won't receive enough blood, no sun rising. No sun rising. Therefore, the intensification of church building and intensification of sacrifice, human sacrifice, launched a civil war. Because so high the rate of sacrifice that majority of people became a potential victim of the campaign of the sacrifice and launched a civil war. And very typical collapse of Maya population in the core area of Maya population. This is all of the civilization, but this is the core area. It's fell down to 4 million. Not each people who disappeared from this area killed or died, but launched a wave of migration to other part of the northern and southern part of America. It's typical example. There is an elite and apply a bad strategy for solving a crisis. Good. Look at the last example, a Viking Age. A Viking Age, or Norsemen. You know the Norsemen. Vikings lived in Scandinavia. Somebody visited in Scandinavia? Which country of Scandinavia?
I went to Sweden in the
Sweden. How long?
3 days.
3 days.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not so long. And the winter time or summertime?
Recently, last week.
Last week, yeah, because Scandinavian winter, unbelievable. For example, and the summertime sometimes in northern part. For example, unbelievable. I participated a conference in Finland, very very far north, and whole of the days, no night, only daytime. Okay.
I went to Norway.
Norway. Which part of the Norway?
Bergen.
Bergen, yeah, it's central part of the Norway. Unbelievable. I visited in Norway too, and for example, when I arrived to the airport of Oslo, and the color of skin,
it's
so unbelievable.
Yeah.
In other part of the world, no, so how the name is. So white.
White, yes. And
but there is a different level of the. It's five stars.
Yeah.
White.
And the hair and the eyes too.
Unbelievable,
Yeah.
unbelievable.
And in spring it were just 3 hours of night.
Yeah, I have a friend, a biologist, who worked in the Bergen in Norway, and who told to me travel by car to Bergen, and drove down from the mountain and look at the Bergen. And so he was very surprised early summertime that look at the Bergen downward, and some area of the Bergen there is a rose area. It's no rational solution of this problem. And when arrived to the Bergen, realized this is the first warm day of summer. Therefore, majority of inhabitants of Bergen walk to the park for sun.
Yeah, for us it was really cold,
but for them it was warm because they are not used to the warm
Yeah.
weather. And we were like with a jacket and everything,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
they were with t-shirts
Yeah.
because they are not used to the weather.
It's basically different socialization. Okay, but this is Scandinavia. In Scandinavia, probably for overpopulation, Vikings try to discover or plundering or raiding some area and sail on the coastal area of Atlantic Ocean through the Strait of Gibraltar, sail to Constantinople, capital of Eastern Roman Empire, on the seaboard area, and other direction via the Great Russian River, sail to the Black Sea and arrive to Constantinople. Therefore, sail everywhere which possible in the early Middle Ages. How? Not interesting, it's other most important devices of the Viking conqueror are flexible Viking ship. The size of the Viking ship changed between 10 to 40 meters long. Used a row and used very simple sail. Why a good solution, a small sailing? Because sailing on the sea, no easy profession. Why? Look at the age of Roman Empire. Ships of Roman Empire almost never left a Mediterranean Sea. A Roman galleys almost never sail to the Atlantic Ocean. Why? Because if we are looking one sea, Mediterranean Sea, Baltic Sea, Atlantic Ocean, there is a typical distance of wave. For example, in the case of Mediterranean Sea, 40 meters, in the Atlantic Ocean, 100 meters, in Baltic Sea, 30 meters. It depends on the size of ocean or the sea, water surface. And two solutions for this problem. Because in the Mediterranean Sea, constructed galleys which able to cover 40 meters. Because able to sail in normal situation, stable manner. In this problem, and for example, not usable to the Mediterranean Sea because the size of waves longer. Therefore, in the case of Mediterranean Sea, it's up and down, up and down, up and down. In this problem, there is two solutions. Construction huge ship which able to sail everywhere. This is the solution of age of geographical discoveries. And other solution, a small, very, very small ship. So small that without great risk, able to sail everywhere. Up, down, but so small that not able to falling down to the lower part of the wave. And with help of these small ships able to navigate in Mediterranean Sea, on the Russian rivers, in Baltic Sea and the Atlantic Ocean too. It's very flexible ships. This is a reconstruction of the Viking ship and it's a picture in the chronicles, from the chronicles. And very important, if we are looking the contemporary period, a Viking invasion and Viking conquering, we can date in the warm period. Close the cooling and dry period of the Great Migration and started in the Middle Ages, a warm period. One of the most important Viking warrior, Eric the Red. Somebody know why named Eric the Red? It's a red hair. of course, nickname. He discovered Greenland. And very interesting the story of discovery of the Greenland, because used one of the most important trick of marketing, you know, the marketing, necessary to find buyers for Greenland. Greenland is a quite cold area, but look at the name, Greenland. Iceland, much southern location, named Iceland. When arrived Eric the Great to Greenland, look at quite moderate green and grassland area, but sent a message to Sweden and Norway. It's a free area, no taxes, no fees, but very rich. And the people who accepted this information and bought the estate, the buildings, everything, and moved to Greenland, never turned back. Therefore, this was a manipulation, marketing, very useful marketing, very efficient marketing. Why so important for the Eric the Great? Eric the Great, because conquering in the custom of Viking legal system function like a game, a pyramid game, you know. A newcomers necessary to pay a moderate amount to the people who discover this area. And every new settlers paid to the Eric the Great. And after each new settlers increased the fortune of Eric. And the next step, which performed a son of Eric the Red, he named, because you know this is the structure of the Scandinavian name, a Christian name, a name of the son, a name of the father, and name of the family. Therefore, Leif Erikson, son of Eric, discovered America, sailed to the America. Therefore, 500 years before Columbus, Vikings not only sailed, but made a settlement even in America. Which was the reason of success of Vikings? Global warming. Not the Vikings became so brave and so durable, a climate change. And the frozen line of the ocean moved northward and opened the way for the Viking settlers on the Stone Strait, because Vikings sailed to island, not so long, not like a Columbus on the open ocean, island by island. Not by chance, the climate deterioration closed the age of Viking migration and the Viking settlements, and when closed a warm medieval period and started the Little Ice Age, a cold period, the northern Viking settlements collapsed and occupied by Inuits, the former Viking settlements. Okay, this is the location of Viking settlement in Newfoundland, and some reconstruction, and it's a statue of Leif Erikson. His nickname was Leif the Lucky. The Lucky became not only sailed into Northern America, but sailed back too. Okay, thanks a lot for your attention.